Shalom, shalom. Shalom, everyone. My name is Gideon Ariel, and I am happy to introduce myself. I am the CEO of Root Source and also the director of Root Source Press, which is a publishing arm. We've already published about 20 books that deal with issues between pro-Israel Christians and Jews. And that is what Root Source is. It's an online platform for pro-Israel Christians to engage with Jews, primarily by studying together the contents, texts, ideas, and concepts that we have in common. And just one moment, please, as I get to our event here. Oh, I have it over here. And today we are, let me share my screen. Or hopefully I can share my screen. Yeah. Yes. And here is, second. Yeah. So this is Root Source, our website. And I encourage you all, if you're not familiar with, to go to root-source.com. And today's event, here is the event page that you went to. That's givebutter.com/list 2023 virtual launch. And today we will, as I said, be launching the list 2023 anti-Semitic incidents worldwide, part 1, not including the October 7th Hamas war. This publication provides a comprehensive look at the distressing reality of anti-Semitism that unfolded around the globe in the year 2023. From physical assaults to online harassment, it sheds light on the alarming depth and breadth of this issue. This book includes over 1,000 incidents worldwide up to the beginning of the Hamas-Gaza war that started on October 7th, 2024. A special edition of the list will be published to monitor anti-Semitism during the war. We at Root Source Press are committed to addressing anti-Semitism, and we invite you to join us in confronting this challenge. We are happy today in our event to host our good friend, member of Knesset Diaspora and Anti-Semitism's Affair Committee, Dan Illouz, who will be making a presentation entitled Worldwide Anti-Semitism from the Perspective of an MK, and I will be introducing him in a few moments. Thank you for coming today, and you've gotten your ticket. If you'd like to also make a donation to Root Source, we are a nonprofit organization. You can simply do that through the Donate and Tickets button over here, or you can go to root-source.com/donate and make a donation here as well. The book that we are launching today, The List 2023, is only the latest in the series of books that we have published. We started publishing The List in about 2019, which included incidents of anti-Semitism, persecution of Jews by Christians throughout history. We had about 1,000 incidents that lasted about 2,000 years. After that, we started publishing the list for each year, a yearbook of anti-Semitic incidents worldwide. And we similarly had about 1,000 incidents each year. So we published it in 2022, 2020, 2021, 2022, and today we are launching the list 2023, but part 1, because after October 7th, anti-Semitic events exploded about, depending on who you're asking, 4 or 5 or even 7-fold. So we will be hearing from MK Dan Illouz in a moment. And let me see if there's anything else I want to show you before we start. Here is the page that you will be able to go to buy the book that we are launching today. And what have we got here? This is an example of our book from last year. And that is it for now. So let me now, one second. stop sharing first of all and introduce Dan Illouz. Member of Knesset Dan Illouz, besides being a close personal friend, is a prominent Canadian-born Israeli politician and a member of the Knesset for the Likud party since January 6, 2023. His significant roles include serving on the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee and chairing the Subcommittee for International Trade, positions that underscore his deep involvement in shaping Israel's defense policies and international trade relations. In addition, as I mentioned, he is also a member of the Diaspora and Fight Against Anti-Semitism Affairs Committee, and that is why we have invited him here today. Also because he is possibly the best English speaker in the Knesset. So Dan, I'm going to pin you, and I've already given you your introduction. So I am happy to now hear, and as our viewers are, about your perspective on anti-Semitism the world over in 2023 and today.
Thank you so much, Gideon. First of all, thank you very much for everything that you do for the Jewish people. Thanks to your organization. That's very important in connecting between pro-Israel people all around the world, regardless of faith. Not only regardless of faith, but with faith being such a catalyst for understanding how important Israel is to the world. And so thank you for all this work that you do. And thank you also to all the viewers that are supporters of Israel worldwide. I want to start by telling you my personal story. I grew up in Montreal, Canada. I grew up in the Jewish diaspora. Didn't grow up in Israel, and therefore I also knew what it meant to live in a non-Jewish country. Now, I have to tell you that whenever people in Israel asked me, why are you moving to Israel? Did you flee anti-Semitism? I would always tell them, no, I, in Canada, almost never encountered anti-Semitism. There were some minor incidents here and there, but they really were minor. There weren't anything, I mean, I'm not justifying minor incidents. Every incident is an incident, and hate should never be accepted. But they were never some major incidents. However, since October 7th, I've heard of things that happened in my own community where I grew up that have shocked me. The high school where I studied has been shot at. There was a shooting there when it was empty, so no one was injured, but still giving a very clear message of how hateful people can be. Another school, the yeshiva, that exists in Montreal also was shot. Both these things that happened in Montreal. There were other incidents all around Canada, the United States, Europe, unfortunately all around the world, even in places where there has never been anti-Semitism. We have now seen anti-Semitism take form, and it begs the question, what has happened? I think one very important point that we need to make is that October 7th, with the horrible massacre that Israel has gone through on this day, led by Hamas and its evil ideology, October 7th is a test for us as the Jewish people. And I want to say why. October 7th was horrible. October 7th is a day where evil was revealed. The face of evil was revealed. Over 1,000 Jews were killed. That's the biggest number ever since the Holocaust. But it's not only the huge number of people that were killed, it's also the ways in which they were murdered. If we're talking about babies burnt alive, women raped and then flaunted around the streets of Gaza in parades, elderly men and women abducted, including some still abducted today, 138 days when this is filmed, 140 days when you'll be seeing this, since still being abducted without their medication. And when we send in medication through the Red Cross that are meant to get to them, we end up seeing clear evidence that they're not getting to them and that the Red Cross is not doing anything about it. This was a horrible event, not only because of the number of people that were killed, but because of the ways they were killed. Now, we have to be honest. On October 7th, because we were caught by surprise, Israel didn't look its strongest. The Jewish people did not look its strongest. Now, when the Jewish people are not strong, anti-Semitism is emboldened. Now, I have to make people understand something that's very important to understand. Israel is strong. The Jewish people are strong. We were taken by surprise, and therefore there's this optical illusion as if we weren't as strong as we should be. But that's only because of the surprise factor. I promise you, Israel's army is incredibly strong. Israel is, if anything, stronger than ever. Also, it's in its willpower to defend itself, its country, and the Jewish people worldwide. We've never been as united and as strong as we are today. But again, this optical illusion that there was on October 7th created this belief around the world that now is a time where the Jewish people are weak, and therefore this incentivizes anti-Semitism worldwide. The best way to fight this is to give a clear message to the world that Israel is strong, that the Jewish people are strong. And the way to do that is to completely eradicate Hamas in Gaza. We have to give a message to history that whoever does what happened, a horrible massacre, like what happened on October 7th, the result of this massacre will not be a state or diplomatic gains like some people are suggesting. That would be a horrible message to give to history. The result will be total eradication. And once we give that message, then the emboldened anti-Semites all around the world, and we see them speaking freely in rallies, calling for genocide of Jews from the river to the sea. That's a genocidal call. We see them in rallies openly saying these calls. These people will stop being emboldened as soon as we show that the result of such actions is total eradication. We have no other choice as a Jewish people, but I want to tell you also, we have no other choice as a Western world, because it's not only the Jewish people that are at stake right now. You know, there's this famous saying that says, first they come for the Jews, then they come for everyone else. That's exactly what happened in history, and that's exactly the danger here today. Because radical Islam is not just against Jews. I mean, you can hear what they say themselves. They speak about the small Satan, that's Israel, but the big Satan, the real big Satan, is America, and they don't mind also anyone that's in between, whether it's Europe or Christians all around the world. They're also bad in their eyes. The fight is not a fight between Israel and radical Islam. It's the fight between the free world and radical Islam. And when Israel right now is fighting this fight, it's fighting this fight for itself. Yes, first and foremost, we're patriots, we're Israeli patriots, and we care about our country. We're fighting this fight, as I said, for the Jewish people, because we believe that by winning this war, we'll be able then to protect Jews worldwide, not only by being a safe haven for Jews here in Israel, but also, and that's all, as I explained, by removing the emboldened anti-Semitism from around the world. But we're also fighting the fight of the whole free world. Yes, the soldiers right now that are risking their lives in Gaza are risking their lives for us Israelis, for us Jews, but also for us members of the free world. They're risking their lives for all of us. And this is something that we have to understand as members of the free world. And we have to be very grateful for their sacrifice, because they're fighting our fights, not only as Israelis, but again, as believers in freedom and democracy. So you asked, what is the main fuel behind anti-Semitism around the world nowadays? The main fuel is this, is the belief that because of the optical illusion of October 7th, then the Jews that existed in exile before the creation of the State of Israel have returned. The ones that you can push and shove around and that they won't respond. But again, I promise you, this is only an optical illusion, and we're fixing that mistake, that optical illusion right now, as we're speaking in Gaza, and we're giving a clear message to Tehran, to Hezbollah in Lebanon, to radical Islam all around the world, and to all of their allies, many that are, I want to call them well-meaning idiots, but I don't know if that's politically correct to say, you'll excuse me. But all of this woke movement all around the world, this extreme progressive movement of people who are usually well-intentioned, but that they have no idea that what they're doing is actually hurting the very way of life that they hope to promote. But the anti-Semitism comes from these places also. And when you have a strong Israel that knows how to defend themselves, then the emboldened sectors of this anti-Semitic crowd end up being diminished. Now, what Israel can do on a practical level in order to help fight anti-Semitism is not only win the war. I think that's the most important thing. As I said, victory is essential. But also there are some practical action plans that we're working with communities. They involve Jewish identity, because it's very important for people to have a strong identity, specifically when there is conflict and when they're threatened, in order for them to be able to stand strong. They include security measures that we're working with local communities in order to ensure that they have the necessary security for them, whether it's with training, depending on the country, it might be with training, with manpower, with different things. Obviously, we do everything in coordination with governments that are our allies. And there are other also things that have to do with public diplomacy and explaining to the world that they're standing by, even silently, when these atrocities happen, or taking sides and trying to take the side of Hamas or things like that. And that ends up emboldening those people also within their own communities, and it ends up being a danger not only for the Jews in these communities, but for the free world as a whole, including the people living there. If you have an emboldened terrorist that's living in your neighborhood, that's a very bad news for you, because you might be in danger also. And so we're working on all of these fronts. It's a lot of work. The numbers this year, as I'm sure you can see in the book that Gideon spoke about in his opening statement, the numbers in the first half were not good. In the second half of 2023, when the second part comes out, you'll see they were horrible, because we had an emboldened anti-Semitic crowd. And so there's a lot of work to do, but the people of Israel want to say, the nation, the state of Israel want to say to Jewish diaspora all around the world, and to all our friends that stand up with us, that the same way that you have our backs when we need it, we'll have your back. Now, if I can end with one little comment about one place where we see this anti-Semitism greater than in any other place, I think we see it stronger than anywhere else on college campuses. I started my political career as an advocate for Israel on campuses in Canada. And I have to say, it wasn't easy. Standing up for the truth when you're in a liberal environment with, a consensus that's not necessarily pro-Israel is never easy. And standing up for the truth is not easy, especially when you have to sacrifice nights with friends, studying for exams, and all of these things. But what I faced as a student 20 years ago is nothing compared to what people face nowadays. In my wildest nightmares, I wouldn't have been able to imagine the rector of my university denying that a call for the genocide of Jews is hate speech. in my wildest nightmares, I couldn't have imagined my professors joining my fellow students and calling for the genocide of Jews from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free, which basically means no Israel, which basically means Jews have to be kicked out and put in the sea where they won't live. That's killing Jews. That's genocide. In my wildest dreams, nightmares, I wouldn't have imagined these things. But this is reality nowadays for students. I have to say that a big part of it comes from very, very dirty politics played by our enemies, in which they buy influence. Yes, with cash, they buy influence in places of influence, and universities are very strategic to them. And as we start seeing these facts come out through work being done by very important organizations that are looking through the budgets of universities, media powerhouses, and other things like that, and we see the influence of many of the enemies of Israel that just pour in cash in these places in order to gain influence. And then we also see proof that they end up having influence as to who is named in the faculty, what the curriculum is, and all of these things. We understand that America and all of the free world, if we want to survive, we need to wake up and understand that we cannot allow this foreign influence in our campuses, in our places of influence, and that we need to make a stop to it, whether it's through legislation or through other places. That's something that each country has to decide on its own. I'm not an American politician. I'm not a politician in any other country that's part of the free world. I'm in the free world, yes, but Israel, in one country, not in any other country. But if we want to survive as a civilization, then we need to ensure that this foreign influence that's being fed through money, just bought with money, with cash, needs to be stopped in order for our values to be the ones that define what the next generation of people in our countries will abide by. Thank you very much for your time. And again, thank you for supporting Israel. And thank you, Gideon, for all the work that you do for Israel.
Well, thank you very, very much, Dan. I know that you're rushing to vote in the Knesset. That's what your job is. I'm thinking this is a small part of your job to interact with friends of Israel all over the world. But I think it's also obviously important for you to go and vote. I have just one more short question, and that is, you mentioned how important it is for the governments of the free world to face the issue of anti-Semitism, because anti-Semitism is only one way to break down the free world, really. What can our viewers who are run-of-the-mill grassroots people, how can they actually do something with impact, not in order to have a meeting with the president of the United States or of Argentina or something like that, but what can they do? What the people that you remember from when you were in Canada or when you visited the United States, what can the simple people on the street do in order to make a difference in the fight against anti-Semitism?
So I'll say three things, which are actually all connected one to the other. The first thing is speak out. You have your voice. It's very strong. It exists in social media, can be letters to the editor, can be a ton of different things where you can speak out against anti-Semitism whenever you see it, speak about how dangerous it is and how it's dangerous not only for the Jewish people, but for our common way of life, for our Judeo-Christian values. And so you can speak out. The second thing, as a politician in a democracy, I have to tell you that the amount of influence that citizens have is something that citizens don't necessarily realize before they actually get into the game. When I get called by a party member or by a regular citizen in Israel that's not even involved in politics, and I get a WhatsApp message from him or an email, I pay attention. Doesn't necessarily always convince me, right? I have my own ideas, he has his. He has to convince me, but I pay attention because at the end of the day in a democracy, you want to be open and attentive to what the people feel. And so I do call on you Even if you're what Gideon said, a regular citizen, speak to your elected officials also. Tell them what's important to you. Tell them it's important to you that they stand against anti-Semitism. If you see a bill in Congress or in your parliament or whatever that is related to anti-Semitism and you want them to support it, then call them, tell them, support it. It makes a difference. Again, people don't realize how much of a difference it makes. Yes, I remember. I had a third thing which I forgot for a second, but now I just remembered it. The third thing was there are rallies around the world of the Jewish community against anti-Semitism. There are things that are organized by the Jewish community against anti-Semitism. It's so meaningful when we have friends that aren't Jewish that join us in these places. It's meaningful to us as Jews because then we don't feel alone. And it's also meaningful, I think, to carrying on the message even further because then people see that it's not just a Jewish problem. It's a problem for our civilization. And so I would suggest these three things.
Well, Dan, thank you very, very much for your time and your excellent remarks. I'm going to let you go now, and we will be in touch. And I would also, with your permission, you said that our citizens, our viewers, should contact their own politicians and representatives. But I'm going to also, with your permission, allow people, if they want to ask you a question, even if they aren't Israeli citizens, and they can send me a letter for you, and I will, or an email for you, and I will forward it on to you for your comments.
With pleasure.
Okay, thank you very, very much. MK, member of Knesset, Dan Illouz, friend of Root Source, and continue to do your good fight for the state of Israel, the people of Israel, and the entire Western free world.
Thank you.
Everybody else stick around while I give myself a pin over here. And Dan, you can show yourself out. And I will now, with your permission, complete our program today, which will include sharing our screen again. That was quite a presentation from Dan Illouz, a young man who is doing an excellent job as a representative of Israel in the Israeli parliament and all over the world. He's also a member of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, who interacts with Christian supporters of Israel all over the world. So once again, today, here is the page where you can buy a copy of the list 2023 Part 1, not including the October 7th Hamas war. I will also go further and say that the list 2023 Part 2, this is the wrong one. Is this it? It's here somewhere. I hope. I think this is the way I do it. No, I don't know where it is, but we will hopefully have it on. I will put the link onto it. And where have I got it here? No, I'm just going to click over that. As far as the Hamas war is coming soon. I got the wrong link in there. No big deal. I will finally encourage everybody to donate to Root Source. We are one of the only world organizations that builds bridges between Christians and Jews, which I know that all of our viewers are excited about. So either make your donation here as you are watching this event on this givebutter.com page, list 2023 virtual launch, or go to root-source.com, click the big button donate in the upper right corner, and you will get to the Root Source page where you can make a donation here for any of our organizational activities, or right now we can't see it. Something happened. Things happen, but if you will go there, you will probably be able to see the form that we would like you to air. It goes, choose the amount, make it a one-time, monthly, or yearly donation, and you hopefully know how to work an internet donation form. In any case, I am totally happy to have you contact me, Gidon Ariel, CEO of Root Source. As I said earlier today, you can also make you can reach out to our friend, member of Knesset, Dan Illouz, send him a question, and I will forward it to him, and he will give you a personal answer as well. So we will conclude today's program. This is something that I want to make sure that I don't make a mistake with our favorite song, that is Ha Tikva. And here we are, soon as we get everything. 1 second, all ready. And here we go. So, Dara Ba, thank you very much. And looking forward to being in touch with you. Signing off now, Gidon Ariel of Root Source, root-source.com. Thank you for participating today in our book launch of the List 2023, Part 1, up until the October 7th war. Shalom, shalom.